Hello everyone, my name is Lee. Thank you for watching this video. In my previous videos, I have shown you how to use Docker and Traefik to easily deploy applications on your personal VPS. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to use file provider with Traefik too. Without further ado, let's get started. First of all, I will need to open my browser. And to save us some time, I have already built the Traefik container, and you can access that at the domain. If you don't know how to build the Traefik dashboard and the container, please go back to my previous videos. I've got detailed instructions there. As you can see from here, I've got two entry points. One is 80, one is port 443. And also in my default configurations, I've got Docker and file providers. I'm using two. To better understand how this works, I need to briefly explain how the Traefik works. I mean the client Traefik. So as you can see from here, when a customer or a client use a browser to go to this website, the browser will resolve the domain name as the IP address, which is your server's IP address. And that client will reach to your server. And when Traefik receives that request, it will direct or route your client to the backend services, which we assign specifically to this hostname. And it will also apply whatever middlewares we are using to secure the requests. As you have seen before, I need to enter the username, admin, and passwords, which is the basic auth middleware. Okay, so let me just give you some demonstrations on how file provider works. I will go to my server first. And you can see from my Docker compose file, I'm using the Docker labels here to define the entry point, the host name, the middleware I'm going to use, and the backend services attached to that host name. All right, so my goal is to remove all of the labels and only use file providers. Okay, so after that, I will need to remove the Docker providers from my static configurations, which is here. Save. And now I'm going to restart. As I remove the Docker, as I remove the Docker provider, I should not be able to access this page anymore. Let's try. Nope. So you can see page not found because it has been removed. So what do we do now? We just need to modify our dynamic configurations. So all the configurations from the file provider is dynamic. As you can see on my dynamic configurations, currently I only have the middleware settings here. I will need to add some routers here. So I don't want to type, so I will just copy the router, basic router from my blog post. Okay, here, let me just copy that. Come back here. I'm not very good at Vim, so forgive me to copy the code from my blog post. So this is the basic router. Let's give it a name. Let's say it's called dashboard and the service. The dashboard service name is API at internal. This is fixed. And the middleware we want to use is the user auth here, right? So user auth. And here is the domain name we want to use. Let's just use the same one as before. Traefik.tomato.monster. Okay, save it. And now let's go to Traefik again. Okay, as you can see, I can access the dashboard again with the basic auth. And the provider, I only have the file provider here. So why do I use the file provider? There are a number of reasons. First of all, it's dynamic, right? So if I say I don't like this anymore, I want this to be at this location, at the www hostname. Can I do that? Simple, just change the domain name or hostname here. Let's go back, a new window. So we just go to Traefik again. It will be 404 again because the hostname changed. Traefik doesn't know where to direct, which services it should direct the request to. We just change it to www. As you can see, now my dashboard is at www.tomato.monster. Very easy, right? And next, I'm going to show you how to deploy a simple applications because as you can see, the service, because this is an internal service, you don't have to define a service here. So I'm going to demonstrate how to deploy a service. So I'm preparing an Nginx service here. As you can see, no label, just a simple Nginx image and container. Let's just run it. Okay. Now I have two containers. But when we come back here, sorry, it should be www. I opened too many windows here. So you can see here, there is no services because we have not add this Nginx to Traefik yet. So let's go back to our dynamic configurations. So I will just copy this whole thing, give it a new router. Alright, so this time I will just call it, let's say, blog. Nginx is a good choice for your blog, especially the static ones like, Haxel. And service name, let's say it's called Nginx service, whatever name you want to give it. And I don't need a middleware for that for now. And I want it to be at a subfolder of my main page. So I can be like adding the path, and let's say that's the name I want to give it, the folder name I want to give it. Let's save it, come back to our dashboard. You can see here are the new routers added, but it failed. There is error. Why? Because we gave them, we say, okay, when anyone go to this domain and that path, it will reach to Nginx service, but we haven't defined our Nginx service as yet. So let's define our Nginx service. Let's go back to dynamic configurations file and go back to the blog post again. Do I have my blog post open? Yeah, it's here. And let me just copy from here and paste, and we just change it, the name to Nginx service to match this name. And you can see when you're defining a service here, you are required to enter the URL with IP address, internal IP address, and a port number. Where should we get it? Let's go back to here, and we need to inspect this container. Okay, inspect container name. Now you can see the IP address here is 172.30.0.3 and the ports are 80. So let's go back to our dynamic configuration. Change this change this IP address to the one we just saw and make sure it's correct, and port 80. Save. And now we go to our service again. Okay, now we go to our service. Now you can see there is Nginx service and the router should be green. Have a successful tick now, right? Now let's go to blog. Voila, you can see we are at our Nginx service, right? Just like what we defined here. And if you say, I don't want to use a subfolder, I would like to use a domain name for my blog. Yeah, you can do that. Just put blog here or whatever name you want to use. And if you say, I want to use a user authentication as well for your blog, you can feel free to do so. Yep. Come back. So when we refresh for page, not surprisingly. So let's go to blog.tomato.monster. As you can see, we are required to enter the username and password. And now we are at our Nginx service, right? I think it is very, very convenient to use the file provider for two reasons mainly. First of all, if you compare the router's configuration here to the labels, okay, let's compare these two. In my opinion, it looks much clearer. You can see the service name here, the middleware is using, and the host name it's using. And you see the labels here. There are so many redundant information like Traefik. You have to repeat a Traefik so many times. And I just feel like it's much easier to read on the file provider. Also, this is dynamic. You can change it whenever you want. And if you change the labels, you have to restart your Traefik container to take into effect. So that's all I want to show you today. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave some comments down below and I'll try my best to get back to you. Thanks again for watching. See you next time. Goodbye.